It is Wednesday, September 5th, 2018. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And it was very productive, get your ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Wednesday. We did a lot of sweeps today. And honestly, that's something that I need to work a lot more on. And these were specifically sweeps from the full mount. And yeah, I like them a lot. And I need to work that one a lot more, because there were certain attacks that we were doing from that position. There were progressions that we were following from that for, like, one was a loop choke, and then other was like a compensation for if they were able to bogart the complete sweep from, I think it was a sit-up turnover sweep, and turning that into an arm triangle, which I thought that was pretty cool. A triangle choke from the full guard via a sit-up turnover miss. And but I don't know, I had a really interesting experience. I was rolling with a gentleman I know for a fact to be extremely talented, very, very talented gentleman, and he was taking it so easy. I mean, I know for a fact that if he applied like even like 60% of his effort, I'd have been doomed, I tell you, doomed. But you know, he's such a nice guy, but it's like, it's good thing, bad thing. You know, it gives me a chance to explore, to try and work my game and whatnot, and maybe improve a little bit. But at the same time, it's like I'm doing a lot of things that I know for a fact that if I were in a match against him and I was trying what I was doing, I would not have been able to do it, and he probably would have been able to hurt me trying to do it. So, you know, it's like, it's one of those things where, you know, you're rolling with somebody and they're like way superior to you, and then like they got you in their guard and one of your hands touches the ground. You know, that's like a big no-no, because then you get caught with a Kimura or shit like that. So anyway, like I said, it's a good thing, bad thing. You know, it gives me a chance to explore, but at the same time, I have no idea how to grade my performance, you know, rolling with him. You know, it's just like the fact that I lasted 3 minutes with him is a testament to his patience, because he was being like really experimental. It's like, and I can see it in his eyes where he's thinking, oh, well, you know, the pressure's right here. Oh, I could do this. You know, and then next thing you know, I'm on my back. You know, but like I said, good thing, bad thing. Gives me a chance to explore. Gives him a chance to explore and be experimental. But nonetheless, it's still not the real deal, and it doesn't seem like the focus or intent is such that all of the things that could be caught are being caught, kind of thing. I mean, because I'm sure he had access to, you know, he's got like a Rolodex of all the shit that could be applied at this point or another, and it's like, okay, yeah, I could get his arm from here, I could get his leg from there, I could get his throat from here, I could do a pressure attack here. And you know, like I said, I can see him like shuffling through it. You know, it's like, and he's just like looking for one that he wants to pick. And you know, every once in a while he'll settle on one, and he'll try and pursue it to the very end. And this last time I almost got him in a choke, but it was only because he was being very stubborn about trying to do the choke that he was trying to do from underneath, and wasn't paying as much attention to his guard. But like I was saying, you know, I know him. I know for a fact that if he wanted to put me in a position where I wasn't able to do something, I wouldn't have been able to do anything. You know, but like I said, it was fun nonetheless. You know, and it's important to do that. You know, because I'm only now starting to understand like where I can do that with my training partners as is, you know, like aside from people that are clearly capable of murdering me, but, you know, people that are just walking in the door, being gentle with them or being not as hard with them. And, because they have to explore the mat too, and it's not any fun if they just get locked down into something that they can't escape. At some point or another, you just gotta concede that you're trying to keep the flow going, and that's where you learn things, is in the flow, and not stuck in a position or whatever. I mean, it's good to know that you can stop somebody in a position, but like once you have, you kind of just let it go, roll forward, and try and move into something else. But yeah, so altogether productive class. I felt it was very pertinent material for me, and I should have been, if I was a little farther away as far as like time goes from when class ends to when this begins, I most likely would have stayed behind to do a few thousand reps, because I'll tell you something, that's something that I definitely need in there. Anyway, we have not done any music yet, and as far as subject matter goes, man, I got so many tabs open on my browser, I have no idea where we're going to go, but I'm sure we'll get there, one way or another. And as far as that goes, the tag that I pulled up was for a body count song, and I like opening it up with body count. They're certainly appropriate. And, yeah, this one feels kind of appropriate these days. Body count, No Lives Matter, First Dance, here on Coin Metal. And that was Soundgarden with Room 1,000 Years Wide. You gotta wonder what he was tripping on when that was taking place, where he was just like, tomorrow begin. It's been fucking high out of his gourd. Anyway, I was just bantering in the Discord chat for Verge Currency, and we were talking about Doge. Doge is the only true market indicator out there. I have to agree. Doge is it. Anyway, back on to other stuff. And, I had no idea where I wanted to take this today, but like I said, I got a billion fucking tabs here. And this one, honestly, I've been expecting this one. This is something that was coming, whether or not we wanted it to. And I think the only answer to this is to make some sort of decentralized application, and I'm sure they already exist. I've used something very similar to what I'm going to be describing here. But a decentralized app that you can use to connect to other users and just do straight OTC trades. And that way you don't have to be like associated, and you don't have to be a custodian or any of that other bullshit. And that way you can also circumvent a lot of international borders and shit like that. But anyway, I've been kind of anticipating this one for a little while, ever since they moved out of New York to avoid the stranglehold of BitLicense, that they were conscious of the regulatory sphere and compliance with it, and that eventually that conscience would get the better of them some way, somehow. And it appears that it has happened. This is on ETH News. Shapeshift membership. Exchange without accounts. Shapeshift switches to account model. And this is by Daniel Putney. And this is authored September 4th, 2018 at 4:12 p.m. No indication of time zone, but yes, penis. In a September 4 Shapeshift post, CEO Eric Voorhees released details about the exchange's new membership offering, which he described as, quote, an advanced loyalty program. There are 5 membership levels, with the first level free and available to all users. The remaining 4 will be released in the future. Although membership is currently optional, Voorhees said it would later be mandatory for consumers wanting to continue using the exchange's services. Membership may come with bells and whistles not available to users before, such as higher trading limits, rewards on trading volume, and better pricing. But to establish these membership accounts, the company must solicit personal information to adhere to KYC and AML laws. Heaven forbid you should ever make a fucking dime that the government doesn't know about. Historically known as the, quote, exchange without accounts, Shapeshift has attracted many individuals with its privacy-centered system. With the no-account model out the window, that luster is gone. Voorhees conceded that the collection of personal data, quote, sucks, though he continued to say that the company, quote, still firmly believes that individuals, regardless of their race, religion, or nationality, deserve the right to financial privacy, and that Shapeshift remains, quote, committed to that cause. Followers on Twitter, though, argue that news of the membership program spells death for the platform. And let's see here. Let's see. I'm just going to read the list of tweets here. The first one is from Shapeshift. Shapeshift has big news for our users. We are now offering a new membership program that will provide users with more benefits and a better user experience. Find out why we are making these changes from our CEO, Eric Voorhees. The response for that one was, wow, goodbye Shapeshift. This really hurts. Exodus_IO too. Shit. The next one was a response to the same tweet. In other words, you KYC and everyone. RIP Shapeshift. One Twitter follower argued that the move runs counter to Shapeshift's stated credo. Mark Lazaro. Today, membership is optional, but it will become mandatory soon. And, quote, we still firmly believe individuals, regardless of race, blah, blah, blah. It sounds contradictory to me, no? Yes, actually, it's very contradictory. Although the RIP Shapeshift sentiment may appear hyperbolic, it brings attention to the exchange's motivations. Voorhees himself broached the topic of the platform's foundation and history of financial privacy, noting that the announcement of the membership program seemed to be, quote, a curious development for the company. Why, then, would an exchange that has amassed a sizable following through its no-account system want to ditch that mindset? Why would Voorhees be okay with that? Apparently, 3 themes informed the switch to a membership model. User requests for account-related features like transaction histories and email notifications, the company's increased interest in the concept of tokenization, and the broader regulatory environment. Actually, it's probably all this C option there. The team, according to Voorhees, has been, quote, exploring and considering these topics for the past year. In a world run by centralized authorities, it makes sense to comply with Big Brother's regulatory guidelines and play it safe in the crypto space, so to speak. Even if Shapeshift is selling out, as some Twitter users believe, the company may be making a smart move to effect financial privacy change from within the existing system. Fans and followers of the exchange may be upset, but the move is admittedly tactical, for better or for worse, i.e., to save their own asses. And I was actually responded to by Shapeshift concerning this matter, and my impression is this, and you guys have heard this story before, probably several times by now, where they get an insurgent into Shapeshift. The insurgent is an intrinsic person to Shapeshift, meaning, their operations in Shapeshift, their existence in Shapeshift is for better or for worse mandatory. Like they're very key. They're a key funder or something like that. And this person, through one way or another, embezzles funds, gets caught with a hooker, gets caught with an underage boy or girl or whatever. They get compromised. And the federal government says, okay, well, you got some options, Shapeshift. You can either play ball with us and give us all the information we want and comply wholeheartedly with our laws, or we're going to prosecute this guy and put him in jail for a very, very long time and take you down with him. This is... how many times? I mean, I've probably talked about this on the show with various companies or whatever, that this same exact thing happens over and over and over again. Now, there are reasonable ways to deal with it that do not include compliance. And I know that's something that some people don't want to hear, but the fact of the matter is that these systems didn't develop to quote-unquote comply. For better or for worse, they developed in defiance of the current system. And see, it's my feeling that what makes them such a defiance to the current system is that it doesn't require the participation of anyone in the current system. It doesn't require the participation of governments. It doesn't require the participation of banks or legacy financiers. And once you take these people out of the equation of the creation of monetary units, we're in brand new territory. The idea that you're going to eliminate it or that you're going to limit it, I have to laugh at this. I have to laugh at this idea, because when we're talking about limiting it, you can limit it at, say, Shapeshift, okay? But again, there are various ways that we can send monetary funds in, or just funds in general, in cryptocurrencies that do not require Shapeshift. That do not require a lot of the services that do require AML KYC bullshit. And so the threat of having these kind of shutdowns, it's not as big as it would be otherwise. And I find it sad that Shapeshift is giving in, and I find it even sadder that they are being challenged. That they're being compelled to do this, and it's obvious that they are being compelled to do it. That some district attorney or attorney general or somebody has their foot on their throat and telling them, you will comply or you will go to prison. And I mean, that much should be obvious. And I think it's sad. I would rather see Eric Voorhees say, look, we're going to KYC AML because so-and-so fucked up and got thrown in jail last weekend, and we had to bail him out, and he did some shit that we don't really believe in, but we can't really dismiss him quite yet. We are working to resolve the issue internally, but until we do, so on and so forth. But as soon as they extricate themselves of that person, to also, I think that the best thing to do for them would have been this, that to come out and say that what happened, be completely transparent about it. Say, look, the feds nailed us because of this. If you want to watch your ass, you will watch out for this. Do not allow this to happen. Warn the rest of the public as to how you got nailed, Eric. I mean, really now. You know, we're not asking for your trade secrets, but goddamn, I'd really like to know how they managed to corral you into doing a 180 on your company's stated mission and policy. And I don't know. In his case, I can't answer for Eric. Really, I can't. Because I don't know what it's like to run Shapeshift. You know, I can't sit here and be like all fucking couch side quarterbacking and whatnot on him. Because, like I said, I'm not in his shoes. But in an ideal world, I mean, you know, if I were in his position and I could just fucking do it, one of the things I would consider doing is, number one, I would terminate Shapeshift immediately as a legal entity. I wouldn't fire anybody and I wouldn't terminate services, but I would eliminate it as a legal entity. If I were in his shoes, I'd probably be running a board meeting right now discussing a restructuring of the company and a rebranding, wherein they take a look at their policies, make an adjustment that they can make without violating their initial stated policy of no accounts and no AML, no KYC bullshit. You know, try and find a way to stick with that model and then get back going again. Because there are other people out there that are doing that. You know, instead of giving into the AML KYC thing, because then it just looks like that's what you always intended to do anyway, and you just were looking for a fucking excuse to do it, and here's your excuse. Oh, this is going to make it so much easier for us now because we've relieved ourselves of, you know, the question of whether or not we're compliant. Eric, I'm going to make a statement to you right now, and I really hope you understand this. You are an unwanted element in finance. And when I say that, I'm not talking about unwanted from me or even anybody in crypto. I'm talking about legacy bankers. Unless you are, in fact, related to one of them, they don't want you in finance. Unless you are a former executive employee of theirs, they do not want you in finance. Period. This is just the first step to see if you would back down. You have backed down. Now, they are going to stack fees upon licenses, upon regulations, upon audits, and they are going to slowly winnow you down via attrition. I reiterate, they do not want you in finance. They want their friends in finance, and that's it. Because if, you know, I mean, unless you're like fully compromised, you know, they've got the video footage of you banging some 10-year-old kid or something like that, and you know, you don't have any choice but to comply. Yeah, unless that's the case, they don't want you. You know, unless you're a little tool boy, they do not want you in finance. So, either way you go about it, I really think this probably means the end of Shapeshift. And I'm not saying that because I want them to fail or anything like that, but I do see, at the very least, there'll be a dramatic shift in their membership. That everybody who was very adverse to the idea of accounts and AML and KYC will bail. And at this point, that's probably a significant amount of Shapeshift's business. You know, I'm sure that there are reasons that they're doing this, that if it were us and we were in their shoes, we would have said, go for it, dude, please. Just fucking do that. Comply. Do what they're asking you to do. You know, I mean, like I said, we can look at it from the sideline and say, oh, they should have done this and they should have done that. But we don't know. We aren't in their corner. We aren't in between their ears. We do not know. And so, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and like villainize them for whatever decisions they made, but I just don't agree with them. And that's about it. Honestly, I hope the best for them because, I mean, why should I want anybody to fail in crypto? I don't have anything against Derek or Shapeshift. So, as far as I've seen, they've conducted themselves as legitimate players in this space. And, with that said, I'd really like to see them find a way around this AML stuff, because I'm sure that it is really pinching on them, at least fundamentally in their moral and ethical sense. This is a company that felt strongly enough about not retaining your records and not adhering to AML and KYC that they moved out of New York and refused to do business with New York because of BitLicense. So, like I said, it has to be really big, and I would not doubt that if we were to really, really dig, if somebody really, really investigated it, if it would make any difference in this fucking world we're living in right now, I can almost guarantee you that we would find out that at least one federal or state entity acted in a way that is illegal, immoral, and unethical in order to secure the coercion of Eric Voorhees or one of his executive staff. Meaning, like in the case of Ross Ulbricht and the Silk Road, where they infiltrated a DEA agent who then stole from Ross, and by the way, hid away a bunch of coins that he stole, even from his employers, and tried to acquire them later on while he was awaiting sentencing for having stolen a significant sum of Bitcoin from Ross. But where I'm going with this is, the guy stole from Ross, so he's a thief. The level of the theft was in the millions of dollars. That is an imprisonable offense. Then he solicited the services of a hitman. Entrapment. So first he's a thief, now he's a liar, and he's soliciting the services of a hitman. So, why is Ross in prison at all? Other than the idea of, we got to make an example out of him. Bullshit. You know what example was provided there? It was, hey, world, this is how you make a international drugstore for everybody to shop at on the dark net, and this is what we got away with, and this is where they nailed us. Have at it. And that's exactly what happened. They closed down Silk Road. Alpha Bay and a bunch of others popped up. One of those gets closed down, another one pops up. This is not going to stop. As far as I'm concerned, it's a process of competition control. It's eliminating the people that they can't coerce directly. They don't have familial relationships with these people, or something to that effect, where they just don't want you in to do this thing. They don't want you in to finance. Well, I think that the day when there is an entity or a group of entities that can inhibit you from participating in finance, I think that day is over. And these little movements against companies like Shapeshift and so on, I think honestly they're like the last gasps of a desperate and dying animal. The only thing they know to do is reach out there and try and grab onto the big stuff. The big stuff that they can take down. And they think that's going to be enough to cut down enough interest to where they can just get a hold of all of it and refigure it around and jigger it around to where only their friends are into it. Like I said, I think that the barrier for entry has been lowered so far. You need a computer and the ability to code and knowledge of and knowledge of what Bitcoin is and the source code, and you're off to the races. You're Janet Yellen. You're Jerome Powell. You're wielding the the blade of digital finance, the Vorpal blade of digital finance, and ready to take down the fucking Jabberwock. And as soon as anybody sees your coin, they're going to take a look at it, and if they like your coin, they're going to spend your coin. If they like your coin enough, they will trade your coin for their goods or services. If they like your coin enough, they'll put it on exchanges and trade it for other coins. You know, sure, there's a lot of exchanges out there that require you to pay listing fees and all kinds of bullshit. But just the same, all of this started from nothing. It was just a bunch of fucking code and people that gave a fuck enough to try. If that's all you really need to get a digital economy going, is some computers, some internet access, some electricity, and some interest, the Federal Reserve, the central banking system, the governments of this planet, you're all fucking doomed. All fucking doomed. There's too much power in this. You know, if you look at the balance of power in Bitcoin, it's constantly fluctuating. There's a power on the user side, there's power on the miner side, there's power on the developer side, and they're all in a mesh. And if you go too hard on one side, you know, it pushes the power to the other side. And we're going to see this as probably the greatest game that's ever been initiated on this planet. And I imagine that it will transform our species. I mean, or at least our civilization. You know, I don't know about us fundamentally physically, but definitely fundamentally on a social level. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music. And I have not picked anything out. And, you know, yeah, definitely going to throw down into some music. A little bit of Static X here. I'm with Stupid. Here on Coin Metal. And that was Henry Rollins' band with Divine. And, yeah, so I was tooling around on the old crypto Twitter here. And, I gotta tell you, man, there's always something on crypto Twitter to make me smile. And, we've been talking about contagion from international markets, how their demand for cryptocurrencies affects a price for cryptocurrency in the US. And I've always felt that for the most part here in the United States, we're kind of awash in cryptocurrencies because we've been speculating on them and trading them a little bit longer than other people. Although in later years, trading volumes have exceeded ours in other nations, if not all the time. So that's been a dramatic shift. But again, we've always had quite a bit of crypto here in the United States. It doesn't seem like the cryptocurrency exchanges here really seem to have any trouble finding any liquidity. And so, you know, and what's indicative of that is the price for Bitcoin. Now, see, I think that what the things like the article that I'm about to read are going to cause the prices here in the United States to increase, because what's going to happen is more and more of the liquidity is going to be leaching out of our exchanges and being traded OTC with international partners elsewhere, because their liquidity issues in their country is creating a bit of a premium. And so here we go. This one's on Bitcoin.com. Bitcoin hits $24,000 in Iran after government okays mining. And this is by Jeffrey Gogo, written approximately 4 hours ago. So yes, definitely penis. The world's most expensive Bitcoin core price is in Iran. A combination of high foreign currency demand, economic sanctions, and an improved regulatory environment, with some speculation, have sent the price of the leading digital currency skywards. How high can it go? Falling rial, new policies spur Iran Bitcoin bull market. The price of Bitcoin in Iran rose sharply on Wednesday after the government of President Hassan Rouhani approved plans to mainstream Bitcoin mining, and as the local currency nosedived. Bitcoin hit a world record of $24,000 on the Iranian exchange XR, eclipsing its previous high of $20,000 as investors piled into the digital currency in search of a safe haven against the falling rial. XR tweeted that, quote, Bitcoin bull markets already started in Iran as rial price goes down against US dollar. The rial is trading at around $138,000 again, or 138 rials to $1 US on the streets of Tehran, according to a Reuters report. About 230% above the official rate of around 42,000 rial per US dollar. Iran embraces cryptocurrency mining. On Tuesday, Iran announced that it will officially start to recognize the mining of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as an industry within 3 weeks. The Central Bank of Iran, which oversees foreign exchange and monetary policy, is to draft a policy framework for the industry, said Abdul Hassan Firuzabadi, my apologies, Secretary of Iran's Supreme Council of Cyberspace. Firuzabadi told Ibina, a specialized news agency in banking and economy, which is affiliated with the Central Bank of Iran, that depending on the use of cryptocurrencies is envisaged to smooth trade between Tehran and its partners, deepening the use of cryptocurrencies, especially in the wake of renewed U.S. sanctions. Quote, but in the final policy for legislating it, crypto mining hasn't been declared yet, said Ibina. Inflation money. The Iranian BTC price broadly reflects the gap between the official exchange rate and the one on the street, a reflection of the inflationary pressures building up in an economy under U.S. sanctions. At $24,000 per BTC in Iran is trading at a premium of about 240% to the global average. CoinMarketCap.com quoted Bitcoin at $7,017 at press time. According to the XR tweet, the price in the Islamic Republic has soared about 40% in the last 3 weeks, rising much faster than the global average. It's not a stampede, but the declining rial, together with the changes in Bitcoin policy and some speculation, have prompted the spike in demand. And I expect that their demand will not stop within their borders, and they will be seeking international supplies. Iran, the world's third largest oil producer, is hoping to leverage cryptocurrencies to compensate for the expected squeeze in petrodollars arising from U.S. sanctions designed to cut oil sales from the country, the economy's lifeblood. Iran will not be the first country to try to use cryptocurrencies to deflate the effect of economic sanctions. In February, Venezuela issued a digital currency of its own called the Petro, which is claimed to be backed by oil, but the Petro appears to have run into trouble. Recent media reports suggest the currency has found no takers, and that the oil was meant to back it up on a one-to-one basis with each barrel just isn't there. The The U.S. has responded by banning its citizens from investing in the petro. Do you think that Bitcoin can help stem the inflation problem in the Iranian economy? Yes, I do. Let us know in the comments section below. Oh my gosh, there's actually comments. Check this out. Let's see. Ask SD says, I'm sorry to say, but this article is somehow wrong. Bitcoin is not 24,000 US dollars in Iran. The fact is, if you have a good amount of dollars, so you are rich, because you can easily exchange it to a great amount of rial, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. The difference is, because of the rial price going down against the US dollar, so the Bitcoin price so the Bitcoin is everywhere the same. So note that if you sell your Bitcoin in Iran in rial, so you should exchange it to the dollar again to use in your country, and this action takes a lot of dollars from you. LOL. Let's see. The next one here was by Matthew Hyde. It didn't hit 24,000, and it's not $24,000 USD. I looked at the exchange. It hit 110 million rial, but that's only like 24. No, dude, you must have got something wrong in your math, because you're saying it's 24,177, and they're saying it was $24,000. So move your decimal place, monkey. You are, and he even says at the bottom here that so someone has gotten their math wrong or some keystroke error when using a calculator. Yeah, schmuck, you are the one that got the fucking thing wrong. Let's see. The next one is by TS the Deplorable. I suspect that this is a misleading story. I suspect that when people use Iranian currency to buy Bitcoin and then compare the artificially high, quote, official exchange rate for Iranian to US currency, it looks like the people were spending about $24,000 per Bitcoin. But as the article alludes to, the street value of Iranian currency is much lower than the government's stated exchange rate. My guess is that an amount of Iranian currency that looks like $24,000 worth of value on the government exchange tables is actually worth only $7,000 on the streets of Iran. In other words, they bought Bitcoin for the going rate once you remove the government's manipulation of the currency exchanges to disguise their true inflation rate under the West's sanctions. This is a great object lesson for those considering buying the new Iranian crypto. It would be foolish to engage in any commerce falling under the influence of the mad mullahs of Iran. They're more concerned with destroying the infidel and ushering in their 12th Mahdi than running an efficient and honest economy. Honestly, TS, I believe the same of the U.S. government, because all they seem to be interested at this point in is terminating existing players in the cryptocurrency sphere and replacing them with legacy finance players. But that's just my read on it. Oh, let's see here. Oh, and that's whether or not they're actually doing the job that they say they're going to do. So it appears as though a lot of the messages here are questioning the exchange rate, and honestly, I do too. But I would go so far as to just suggest there probably is a significant discrepancy between the price of Bitcoin in Iran on Iranian exchanges. And you know what? Let's try the Google and find out. Fucking shit. Iranian rial to Bitcoin. 1 Iranian rial equals not that much Bitcoin. It says 0.00 Bitcoin. Let's see here. Let's go further back. 0.00000. Let's see if it'll actually show me the scale. No, it won't. Convert bitcoins to Iranian rial exchange rate. Let's see here. Trying to check and verify their 1 bitcoin. Okay, according to, and this is coinmill.com, 1 bitcoin equals, let's see here, 272,332,542 rial. And let's see, $1. Let's try $1 to Bitcoin. Or other currencies. Other countries and currencies. There we go. Let's try US dollars. US dollars. Amount $1. Alright, yeah, so it's about 42,000 rial to, and let's do a little math with our calculator. So we're going to go back to, let's see here, Bitcoin. Bitcoin, there we go. Oh wow, 1 Bitcoin in their thing here. I'm on coinmill.com. According to them, it's about $6,484 on their list. So let's see here. Let's go back, and we'll go back one more. Okay. So we will go 272,332,642. 642 divided by 42,000 equals, yeah, roughly. It's according to this thing that I'm looking at right now. It works out to $6,484 for the whole accounting of rial to US dollars to Bitcoin and back. According to this, it all levels out at about $6,500. I don't know if that's the reality on the street right now, but we'll find out. Let's see here, US $1 Let's see here. Oh wow, the Iranian rial went up 7 cents in rial cents anyway during this whole search. But anyway, so yeah, apparently that's a very misleading article. And, well, sorry, Bitcoin.com. You should probably do some fact checking on that. Maybe there is a market where you can buy it for $24,000, but it doesn't seem to be the prevailing price at this moment in time. So, where they got their information for this, I couldn't tell you. Or, yeah, this one exchange, Xer. Weird. Sorry about that. Had to rehydrate. But yeah, so that's kind of interesting. I mean, at least there's some sort of official recognition of mining as an industry in Iran. And if nothing else, I think that what is of note of that article, even if everything else was bullshit on it, which I'm strongly suspecting is the case at this point, what it does show us, though, is that Iran is changing their stance on cryptocurrencies. And that's big. That's really big. Because if you think about it in terms of of coins and their international markets, it allows Iran and other countries different mediums to sell products to one another in. Now, I want you to think about the implication of what I just said there. See, back before we invaded Iraq, a couple things were going on in Iraq. Number one, Saddam Hussein was planning on going to a gold-backed currency. And this was because he had been doing trades in gold with France. And he was trading as some UN negotiated fucking humanitarian bullshit. He managed to wing this deal with France, where France was able to buy some of his oil and they would get food for Iraqis. Well, of course it's a pain in the ass to transport food, so they paid them. Well, they paid them in gold. And they've been doing it in the EU, or under the flag of the EU, for quite a while. Like about, I want to say it was like 10 years. And Iraq had been receiving payment in gold. You know, as a matter of fact, I saw and this ties in perfectly, I just saw a story recently about some guys that were rehabilitating an Iraqi tank. And while doing so, they found a box full of gold bars. Okay, and there was like 20 gold bars in this fucking thing. That's some of the gold that Iraq had been paid for oil. Alright. So, Iraq was planning to go to a gold-backed currency, and that's one of the reasons why we invaded, I'm pretty sure. But see, that was allowing Iraq to sell their oil. Okay? And it was going to leverage them back into being able to participate with global partners if they were, say, trading in gold certificates or the like. So, you know, because all of a sudden Iraq would have this large volume of gold that they could create notes against and create a gold-backed currency to do business with other countries. And this is like the competing standard with the US dollar. Before the US dollar was backed by oil, it was backed by gold. And that's what made it very, very attractive to Middle Easterners, is because they could exchange the dollars for gold, and they valued gold way more than US dollars. Okay, and they still do. But where we've been kind of dominating the planet is with this petro-associated US dollar. Basically, the US was running the petro the way Venezuela was planning to this whole time. And so, you know, since the 70s. And what that's allowed them to do, though, is when we have some major spike in oil production, that depreciates the price of oil. Well, that depreciates the price that other countries are able to get for their oil, because they're restricted in what they can trade the oil for. You know, due to or like, I want to say like treaties or international treaties or whatnot, they're supposed to buy and sell oil in US dollars. Now, again, Iraq had kind of violated that. You know, they were selling oil for gold. Well, now Iran can sell gold for Bitcoin. Oil for Bitcoin, or Ethereum, or Verge, or Litecoin, or Monero, or any one of a number of cryptocurrencies. And now that they've changed their stance on mining and started to get a little bit cushy with that, you can kind of start to see where this is going. I have said this multiple times, and I think this is one of the reasons why, as draconian as the U.S. government is becoming, that they have been relatively tentative with how they've tried to apply the laws that they intend to enforce. And specifically, they've specifically concentrated on people that they can nail for doing quote unquote criminal activities. Okay, and this includes like by all accounts money laundering. Where they're moving millions and billions of dollars for people in a completely illicit and unregulated or untoward way, and it is being used for some sort of illegitimate enterprise. Those are the places where they have been nailing people, like BitConnect. That's an excellent example. Paycoin, another example, where these people were doing shit that was illegal. They were fraud. They were fraudulent. Although BitConnect, from what I understand, there's actually some segment of the community that wants to resurrect the coin or keep it trading or whatever. And at some point or another, you got to fall out of love with the asset, make what you can back on it, and move on. It's the reality of crypto and any other market. But in any case, the U.S. government has been relatively tentative with who they've addressed. I haven't seen too many people that I would question for, that I would look at and say, oh, they were running a legitimate enterprise and they fully intended to be completely legitimate according to everything they said to their partners and their users and their customers and so on and so forth. That there's very few instances I've seen so far where somebody, other than the Silk Road, that's probably the one case where I would definitely say there was no reason to go after them. Now, of course, there's the question of dealing drugs online, but the Silk Road themselves never had any of the drugs. They were not distributing the drugs. It was just a marketplace. And from what I understand, drugs was a relatively small portion of what they were doing there. They actually threatened more of the likes of like eBay and Etsy and Amazon than big pharma or any pot sellers or anything like that. No, the bigger competition that they were addressing again was people like Amazon. And when I see that, I think to myself, in another decade, there are going to be markets all over the place that are operating identically to the way that the Silk Road was. And I have that in all confidence because it doesn't require a significant hardware infrastructure to do something like the Silk Road. You just have to have internet access. After you've got internet access, you can buy and sell shit, or you could have. And there's a wide variety of markets that I will not even allude to out there already that you can do that with, that are actually in the clear web. It's just a matter of who and how you communicate with your customers and how you take payment. But along with international embargoes and sanctions, there are a number of, how should I say this, onerous and otherwise burdensome friction points that cryptocurrencies allow us to circumvent. And this is a power of cryptocurrencies that I really wish more people would avail themselves of, is that you do not have to mine, you do not have to speculate with them in order to make money off of them or make money with them. You can trade something, a service, a good for cryptocurrencies. And in raw terms, you could report your absolute income. So if you traded it at a certain rate that you and your business partner had agreed to, or your partner in commerce, whatever the case may be, and you agree to a price, you agree to an exchange rate, you make the transaction, you can report the transaction as, just the raw income number. So, say it was a service for $60, right? You give the service, they pay you in Bitcoin. They pay you $60 worth of Bitcoin at the exchange rate that you both agreed to. Now, as far as anybody else concerned, as far as the world is concerned, you earned $60. However, you could be holding that Bitcoin, and by the time you actually do liquidate it or trade it for something else, it could be worth more. It could actually be worth less. You could take a loss on it. And if you did, when you sold it, you could count the differential as a business expense. Of course, then again, when you liquidate, if you did make a profit on it, you would have to report that again as an additional profit. But that's because you actually realized a profit. But in raw terms, if you never cashed it out, like at the end of the year you still had it in Bitcoin, I would just report it as the $60 that it was at the point of the transaction. But again, if you do liquidate it, if you do exchange it, you would want to account for the dollar rate at which you exchanged it at. And again, I only consider funds taxable once they've either been spent as money, or B, if they've been exchanged for money or for national currency, national fiat currency. At that point, as far as I'm concerned, now we are talking about a quote-unquote realized profit. Okay, it's no longer in question. The unit of account that we have to deal with for taxation and so on and so forth is the US dollar. So until it is actually converted from whatever it is into a good, a service, or something else that's denominated in that national currency, i.e. the national currency itself, it is not a realized profit. And so as far as I'm concerned, why report it? But that's just my feeling on it. I could be wrong. I am not a lawyer. But again, at that point though, at the point you actually spend it, you have realized a profit, you have realized a loss, and reported as such. And I think, honestly, according to all of the demands I could see of the IRS and whatnot, that seems to be the biggest thing, is an account of your income for the year. And income, as far as I'm concerned, is realized profit or realized liquid capital. It not specifically profit, because you could be going to work 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, or, and expending gas and buying food and so on and so forth, and you could actually be operating at a loss. But that's your deal. And you wouldn't be able to report it as such, I don't think, unless you were working for yourself, and then you could count your travel expenses as a tax write-off, because it's a business expense. But yeah, realized profit, that's the name of the game as far as I'm concerned. And again, I could be wrong. I'm not a lawyer. Don't get pissed at me if you get busted or in an audit or whatever. I'm just a DJ. If you're using me as to define how to operate your finances, you're in fucking trouble, dude. That's just all there is to it. Now you might want to consider my advice. You might want to consider some of the things I'm saying when you're making your decision, but do not use it as the final rule, please. Think for yourself, man. Anyway, I got another article here, and this one I think is kind of interesting. Monero has both angered and made me happy at the same time, and that's kind of difficult to do. But they seem, in this time of greater scrutiny and whatnot, they seem to me to be acting the most legitimately out of all the coins that maybe a year or so ago I would have considered to be completely scamalicious. And to me, that's really interesting. And I'm not talking about like compliance or anything like that. What I'm talking about is the way they conduct themselves as a coin. or how they represent their coin on like crypto Twitter and elsewhere, and in the way they act, and their responsiveness to the market. I find it quite laudable, honestly. And so, when I see somebody doing something like, monitoring their shit and finding bugs and looking for bugs and trying to get rid of them before they become real issues, well, I think that's a pretty cool thing. Anyway, I got this article here on BitcoinWarrior.net. Monero publishes postmortem on critical bug. And this is authored on September 6, 2018. So apparently we're getting this from the future. No accounting for who or whether or not they have a penis or vagina. Continuing. Monero has published a public post-mortem on the multiple counting bug, which may have compromised various services and platforms that have adopted the altcoin. Quote, a critical bug in the wallet software, of which the severity was initially significantly underestimated, allowed an attacker to steal funds from organizations present in the Monero ecosystem. The bug was first exploited in July, leading exchanges to suspend their services. Every CryptoNote-based coin is currently under maintenance while we wait on the coin developers to update/fix their wallet because of a recent bug discovered. And that was by Altex.exchange on July 6th of 2018. Monero did not reveal how much crypto may have been stolen, although some exchanges have reported losses in the past. Altex has said that, quote, the bug caused a big loss in coins for the exchange. How did it work? The bug existed in two forms. In its most common form, the bug essentially allowed attackers to include a transaction public key multiple times in a transaction. The recipient's wallet would then show that it had received more XMR than it had actually received. However, the wallet balance would reflect the actual amount of XMR that had been moved. According to Monero's announcement, quote, this variant of the bug was fairly trivial to exploit. Attackers simply had to append a few lines of code, and as long as the targets did not notice, this attack could be repeated indefinitely. The second variant of the bug involved dummy transaction public keys. Attackers could misuse these keys to trick the wallet into misrepresenting the transaction, which would similarly lead a wallet to report a larger transaction than had actually been performed. The solution. The bugs were patched in version 0.12.3.0 of the Monero software, which was released on July 12th. The Monero team also attempted to privately notify some services, vendors, and exchanges of the issue. However, the Monero team could not contact every service. The team may improve the warning process in the future with a private mailing list that only approved services can subscribe to. There goes some of that censorship resistance, but that would probably cut back on the problem of cryptojacking. Quote, some kind of verification of subscribers would be required. It would probably be more secure than a public mailing list to which a clever attacker could undoubtedly subscribe. Monero's announcement also reminds organizations that cryptocurrency is a new technology and that, quote, sanity checks are important. That is, transaction amounts should always be checked against balances. Monero developers are considering adding a sanity check feature to the Monero software. The bigger picture. Monero is prominent in crypto-related crime because it keeps transaction data private, whereas Bitcoin transactions are public and sometimes can be traced. Monero gives cybercriminals a better chance of escaping justice. However, Thefts due to this bug may have been a crime of opportunity rather than a desire to make use of Monero in particular. Bugs are unfortunately common to all cryptocurrencies and are frequently exploited. Yes, and a lot of that is due to lack of QA. And let that be a lesson to you, man. This is probably a bug that's existed for quite a while. And Monero has just got around to patching for it, relatively recently. Although I will say this, it looks like the whole span of effect was not all that long. Although, let's see here, something the issue, blah blah blah. I'm trying to find the link. There was a link here for where some people had said they lost money. Oh, that's weird. Cannot find that website. Anyway, so yeah, Monero getting on top of it and trying to get a hold of a bug. However, you got to wonder what else it might affect. Because they're talking about some kind of verification of subscribers would be required. I don't know. They'd have to make that pretty fucking secure. And it would probably have to be some sort of client-side verification. Otherwise, they would risk, storing information that could later be disseminated to a regulatory body. Or hackers. You never know. It's like I said to Shapeshift, that, anything more than a receive address for the transaction that I'm trying to perform, and you're basically trying to collect data that would potentially be exploited by you, a company you sold the data to, a hacker, or a government. You'd have some government entity shoving their hand up your ass asking for things, or you would have some hacker either compromising your servers or, ransomware or some shit. Point being that if you don't have it, it can't be taken from you. So if you don't collect it from me, then you don't have it. You see how that works? Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music. I was kind of holding off for that. And, a little bit of Sepultura, old school Sepultura, Subtraction, here on Coin Metal. I was just going to let that go because it is Killing Joke, but I couldn't do it. I got one last little article that I want to get into before the end of this episode. And, let me hit tweet on that and see if... Okay, cool. Had to check and verify, see if I had tweeted for that last song. And it seems like I'm getting a whole bunch of bullshit from some motherfuckers that are trying to, latch onto my shit. Fucking scammers. Wish I could, stab one of them in the head or something like that. Anywho, let's get into this article really quick before we close out this episode, because it is 10:50 and we're getting close. But I thought this one was really important because there always has been kind of an intrinsic link between cryptocurrency and marijuana. And so here we go. This one's on CoinDesk. High Times now says it's accepting crypto payments for its IPO. This is by Nicholas D. So yes, penis. This is authored September 5th, 2018 at 2100 UTC. Thank you very much, Nicholas, for telling us exactly when you did this thing. Anyway, continuing on. It turns out that the cannabis publication High Times is accepting cryptocurrency for its ongoing initial public offering after all. The publication announced the beginning of August that it would accept Bitcoin and Ethereum for its IPO, but later walked back on the announcement in an August 13th filing submitted to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission as previously reported by CoinDesk. Despite the move, however, Bitcoin appears to have remained as a payment option on the company's investment page. When reached for comment, High Times representative John Capetta confirmed that the company is in fact accepting Bitcoin and Ethereum as payment options. Capetta told CoinDesk that the regulatory filing was made, quote, to make the SEC happy. Quote, yes, technically we are accepting Bitcoin and Ethereum, Capetta told CoinDesk. However, High Times is not taking or holding any cryptocurrencies. Rather, a third-party processor called Fund America is taking the two cryptocurrencies and converting into US dollars, which the company will then receive. Quote, on the legal side, it's a lot of jargon. There's no real easy way to spell it out. They issued the release to make the SEC happy, he said. He explained, quote, we're accepting cryptocurrencies as a payment option, but technically Fund America takes the Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's similar to the way to the way if we were doing an international IPO and we're accepting the pound or euro, those guys aren't accepting that money, they're converting it to dollars. The reason for the earlier walkback was due to concerns expressed by the SEC after the company initially said it would accept Bitcoin, which mainly revolved around whether High Times would directly receive cryptocurrencies, he said. Quote, the reason we got slapped by the SEC last time is because we were accepting it, similar to a credit card processor. However, it gets transferred to cash, and we get that. We're not explicitly holding cryptocurrencies, he said. High Times IPO itself is going well, Capetta said, and the company is looking at a direct listing as a result. Quote, the Regulation A fundraising is going to close on the 12th of this month, and then from there we will begin the listing process, he said. Very cool. So they're going public. I want to suggest something on this, Mr. Capetta. What I would suggest is that you do an additional release. You do an ICO. And now, see, this in my mind would be a appropriate application of the ICO funding model, because you're wishing to participate in cryptocurrencies, right? So what I would do if I were in your case, in your stead, is I would do an ICO and accept payments in either Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever it may be. Whatever you decide to set it up on, I would probably set it up on Ethereum because they're already geared for that. Anyway, take a volume of Ethereum, do an ICO, and allow payment for it in Ethereum. And then when you have a sum of Ethereum, then you can use that to issue derivatives against. And that would be something that the SEC would want to be involved in, of course. And as far as listing is concerned, probably Binance would be an excellent place to do that. But yeah, that's either an intrinsic token. You know, you exchange a volume of Ethereum for some sort of token that you have, and yeah, get it traded on Binance and a few other exchanges, and you could be exposed to worldwide markets as opposed to, say, U.S. regulated markets only. And I think that's really where you want to go, is expanding your fundraising capabilities to outside the borders of the United States to possibly include all of the places where your magazine is distributed to. That would be my move. But I don't run High Times, so that's your call to make. Anyway, it is with that I would like to close out this episode. I'd like to thank you very much for listening. I certainly do appreciate the support. We will be back again on Friday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So until then, I'd like you all to trade safe. Do your homework. And watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you.